Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights, and Beyond. Today, we're talking about Season 1, Episode 19, Changes. Zach?
The Taylors contemplate a move to Austin. Tammy tries to get Tyra into college, while Coach tries to take Julie to a weird daddy-daughter dance. Street visits Stonehenge without going to Scotland, and Tim sticks up for a bullied beau, then tries to make out with his mom.
That was awesome. You're getting really good at those.
Thanks.
I hate to give you credit, but
I can't look at Scott anymore when I do them because I think he's just disappointedly staring at me, even though I
Of
know
course.
he's just like, oh, there's pretend music playing right now.
No, these recaps are awesome. I'm looking at you with pride in my eyes. And we are looking at you, the listening audience, with pride in our eyes as well. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. This particular episode of Friday Night Lights covers a lot of ground. Sometimes we say, okay, we'll do like 4 quarters, right? Like, what are like the 4 storylines? This thing needs like 12 quarters. This thing needs like 8 overtimes. This episode is crazy good. I've never seen Zach as fired up as he was when he was coming in today. He's like, this is going to be awesome.
I said it was going to be a phenomenal episode.
And we hope to prove him right. This particular episode was written by the man himself, Katie, as May likes to call him.
Rudy. I just saw Cootie.
Cootie.
I just saw Katie Cootie. I just saw him like not that long ago, and it was really fun. I got to hug him and everything.
Oh,
For
that's a
everyone out there
great
not
story.
in the know, Katie is Jason
Thank you.
Kadams, otherwise known as the showrunner of Friday Night Lights. And it was directed by none other than our directing producer, Rhino, as I like to call him, Jeffrey Reiner. This episode, just like every other episode, is not only football. And actually, this wasn't football at all. There's not even a football game in this
There's
thing.
not even a practice.
Not even a practice.
We're talking about practice?
As Zach from the Midwest says. If this episode is not only football, though, what was it for you? May, do you know?
Yes, I do. For me, this episode was about the concept of letting go. It was, the song "Time to Say Goodbye" that kept playing in my head while I was watching this. I was like, wow, it's really time for a lot of these characters to let go of people, things, ideas, dreams. It's the big
Well, it's
divide
getting
is
bleak in here.
starting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Just let go of yourself.
Zach, if it's not only
Start
football
eating
for
McDonald's and drinking Coca-Cola.
you, Zach, if it's not only football for you, what was it?
It's some, family dynamics, relationships, interpersonal communications, and conflict management.
Thank you.
You don't like the
Zach.
daddy-daughter thing. You could say that.
Well,
That upset
I don't
you.
want this episode to be about a daddy-daughter dance. We'll get into it, and we'll start rip-roaring the debate, and some will defend it, and some will tear it down like the patriarchy. But we'll get into that when we get into it.
If it's not only football, for me, this episode is about, I think, my single favorite scene I've ever shot, or I ever shot, while working on Friday Night Lights, is in this episode.
Do we have to wait, or are you going to tell us?
No, it's when the 4 guys come together on the football
Oh,
field,
yeah.
where Riggins and Saracen and Street and Smash spend the night at Panther Field, and I love that scene for so many reasons. So this episode's really about that for me. Look, at the beginning of the episode, it opens up with Tammy and Coach looking at what could be their new reality. Ooh.
Mhm.
You like how I
Yeah.
did that? Oh man, that was
a
so
good
good.
segue.
That's a good
That
segue.
good TMU job.
And they're having a discussion that, happens a lot. We've considered leaving LA, my wife and I, plenty over the last couple
Were
of
you going
years.
to take your kids with you or no?
Yeah. Selling the house here and moving somewhere else. And it's constantly something that we're always looking into. And in the beginning of this episode, that's exactly what Tammy is doing. She's looking at Austin listings and she's like, ooh, look at this one. It's a turn of the
Fun.
century home. And Coach's response is very much my response to turn of what century?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I want to walk in and not have to do any work on the house. My wife wants to get a house that definitely has a lot of character.
I love a house with character. To me, God help me, it's got to have good bones. Anyone?
Good bones.
We all know
May
how I
loves a
like
good
those good bones.
bone.
it really must. I love the weirder the house, the better. I mean, can't you see? I'm like living in a house that's like paneled entirely in like redwood. I'm like, the weirder stuff is the better for me.
You love it. And I've been to Zach's house, so I know he likes a house with character.
I do like character, but I like character that's done.
Yeah, what character is your
to
house?
Put in the work. It's Spanish Mediterranean. There was a guy who was a designer who lived in our neighborhood who owned the house, and he did a lot of weird stuff to it. So we have all this really like kind of weird blue tile all over. Our room that's like our den where we watch TV with the kids used to be a totally blue tile 10-person sunken into the floor hot tub.
Oh, that's
Oh
okay.
my God,
Yeah,
that's
what
awesome.
It was.
Yeah. It was got some weird quirks, but now it's a little more of a family home.
I knew there was a sunken something. Anyway, Julie walks in on this conversation and very quickly realizes they are talking about moving.
She ain't happy.
What?
No.
Well, that's great because I'm not going, and then storms out. When I was in high school, my best friend, James, his mom had to move to North New York, and it was his senior year of high school, and he lived with me for the whole year.
Wow.
He stayed with me and my family and finished school there. So I've seen that happen. I mean, I don't know where Julie would go and stay. I mean, what she was going to stay
me
with
and Grandma.
Tyra? You and
Oh, she's not gonna stay with Tyra. Come on.
you and Grandma Saracen?
Yes.
Just a little happy little house there.
No, so stay at Lois's house.
And then the end of the opening is, and I guess we'll start here because, like I said, there's a ton of storylines in this thing, but usually we save Saracen or Street for last. I want to talk about Street first. I think we've got a lot of ground to cover. He's crushing it at these Olympic trials, these Paralympic trials, completely crushing it. The coach tells him how great he's doing, how great he looks, and I mean, you see Street at his full level. I mean, he's catching the ball, he's throwing the ball, he's scoring goals. But this is the last time you're going to see Quad Rugby on this show. It's been such a massive storyline.
Is that for real?
And it ends abruptly
Wow.
here. At the end of the opening, Coach Gumby says to Street, you look great out there. And I go to thank him, and he said, you don't have to thank us. That's our job. But it's also our job to tell you we're not taking you to Beijing. And as an actor, I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, it's over? It's done with?
Well, I mean, you could practice for another 4 years.
Yeah, you should.
He does say, come back and see me in 4 years.
You don't have to be a quitter.
Yeah.
And maybe, a lot of people ask me the question, like, what do you think Street's doing now? And my answer is never, he has won a couple medals with the Paralympic team. It's always like, he's with his family, he's in New York, he's a sports agent. But damn it, why don't I say, you know what? Yeah, Street does make the Paralympic team.
Start today.
I'm going to start today.
That's my boy.
But, in the script, it says a little bit more of the reason why.
Under review.
As under review. Wow. Can we snag Zach saying that and use that as our under review drop? It's just, I was, as a viewer watching again, I was like, oh wait, he didn't make the team? Like that sucks. And I realized, like, in the script, Coach Gumby does a lot to explain why he didn't make the team. He says, it's a miracle how far you've come. I've seen you start in that chair, but you're not comfortable. You need time to grow. And I'm sorry, but I've made my decision. And Jason fights back. Jason's got a very competitive spirit. And there's like a 1.5-page long conversation where I'm like, I get upset and I start fighting with them. And it explains a lot. But again.
Well, also like it's the young hubris to think, after being in a chair for a few months, I could be as good as anyone else who's been doing this for much longer and is already on the Olympic team. And then, I totally get it. I'm not even trying to fault him, but it is, of course you didn't make the team.
Yeah.
But it's also hard. I mean, this, like, Lila says later, she's like, the world you came from, the mentality you had, you were at the top of your game in this other world that you were in this other field, in this other sport. And so to kind of go back, and you have such natural athletic prowess and all that. So it's like, it does make sense. Like, you have the talent and the skill. It's just that you're new to this one. So, I mean, it totally makes sense. And that's the last nice thing I'm going to say about Jason Street.
And I think a lot of what Coach Gumby says in the scene that got cut is said in one line by Herc later. But before we leave Quad Rugby and we deal with the rest of Jason Street's journey.
Because I have something about Quad Rugby before we move on.
Oh, you do?
Oh, wait,
what?
this is silly, and I know what you're about to talk about, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Why is Susie there? What is she doing at all these practices, just like rooting people on?
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess she's a huge fan.
Well,
but what's her job?
She's a tattoo artist, aspiring.
This is the problem with like a lot of what we cut in the show, because back when Susie Q was introduced, there are scenes with her and Jason that were cut.
Yeah.
And she says, look, I just need extra money to keep my business afloat. So
She's like
you guys came to town. And no, she's getting paid to
cheer.
She works at this sports complex on the side, and she does a bunch of different tournaments or whatever, and she gets paid. But then she starts to appreciate these people, and her friend, who is very much the lowest of this situation, her friend Mo, who Herc has been like macking with in the background a lot. That's her good friend, and her good friend is around a lot. But all that stuff was removed. Anyway, that's why Susie Q's here.
Okay.
Right.
I wanted to say just like real quick for people who have followed Street's journey this far and enjoyed it, like go online. There are different networks where you can watch like the Texas Stampede play quad rugby. It's a really awesome sport. It's a combination of basketball and ice hockey and soccer, like all shoved together. And, you know, the other thing that made sense to me is the way you field a team in quad rugby is you have 8 points, and you assign points to people based on how extreme their disability is. So somebody with Jason's injury and his capability in his hands and his arms and his body, he would be about 3.5 points of an 8-point team. Jason's almost half of your team.
Right, and there's 4 people on a team?
And there's 4 people on the floor at once. That's right, Zach. Very good. This guy's not paying attention. So you can only field 4 players on the floor at once, and then it's only 8 points to spread amongst them. So when you see Jason Street like tearing down the court and catching an over-the-shoulder pass and scoring a goal, I mean, it looks like he's unstoppable. But you have to have the right team composition for everything. And the guy that's standing in his way is Herc. Herc is another like 3 to 3.5 point player. Herc has been there before. He's won gold medals. You know, he's the wily veteran who's he's a leader. And who are you going to replace? You're going to replace Herc with Street? Probably not. And it's like you said, the hubris of a young man. But, you know, the stuff that Jason is capable of really would work on a court like that. You know, when you have the ball in your hands, you have 10 seconds to dribble, which you only have to dribble it once, which the people out there might be thinking, oh, well, you know, how hard is it to dribble? I mean, it's incredibly difficult with the varying levels of degree. So you have to pass or dribble within 10 seconds of getting the ball, and you have to cross half court within 12 seconds or else you turn the ball over. So the ball is constantly moving. This sport is never stagnant. It never sits still. Full chair-on-chair contact is allowed. It's like a gladiator sport, man. You are just ramming you hear metal crashing all the time. There's a reason it was called murder ball. It's so incredible to watch, and these guys are premier athletes through and through. So I just want to explain a little bit how the sport is played, and, you know, just kind of explain like why it's so awesome to watch, why the documentary Murder Ball was so successful, and why it's a big part of this show. So I just wanted to say that because after this, we're leaving quad rugby behind. Jason's failure to make the team leaves this wonderful sport.
It's so crazy to me because, like you said, it feels like such a big part of the show. I'm like, wait, what? That's the end of quad rugby?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's wild.
Jason moves from here into something else, another passion and something that he's really shows himself to be good at. And then he goes directly from that into kind of a career. So it's basically, yeah, this is it. And it blew my mind as well because it happened I didn't remember that him being told he's not a part of the team happened in the like intro of this episode. And it's done. It's abrupt. And it was crazy. Anyway, later on in the episode, you see him and Herc says, like I said, everything that Coach Gumby says to him in the scene that was cut is, look, man, you know, you're an athlete, sure, but you're uncomfortable in your chair.
Right.
And that's going to take you years to get over. And Street is like, I'm the best athlete on that floor. Like, he's just got that competitive fire, and it's coming out in the form of ego. And he's just hurt, and it's spilling out of him in, like, all these different ways. He's like, you have a relationship with the coach. It's all politics. Like, Jason, he's just saying anything that he can to make himself feel better for failing in this aspect.
I mean, fail is a strong word.
I think Jason sees it as a failure.
Yes, 100%.
You know, he put all of his eggs, as he told Tammy Taylor 2 episodes ago, he put all of his eggs in the quad rugby basket. He quit school.
I mean, you still get your GED.
You know, I know, but like, you know, so it's for him, yeah, it is a pretty massive failure. But yeah, Susie's there which I know I could already tell by the question and the response earlier. It's like, why is Susie even there?
Ugh,
But, Jason
thirsty.
needs somebody to talk to in that moment, and I guess he doesn't feel like it's Lila. And that's a warning sign.
That's what leads him down Cheat Street.
Streeter,
But I thought it's so messed up,
Streeter
though,
the
because
cheater.
imagine this. And when I was watching this, I was thinking of like what Jason just did is very akin to like what we have to do all the time. We go out for something that we really, really want. You read a script, you fall in love with a character, you have to go in and then convince other people that you're capable of it. And you put all your eggs in the basket and then you don't get it. And what happens in the aftermath to us emotionally, like sometimes it's tougher than others.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Depression.
yeah.
Brought to you by BetterHelp. If you don't score the role you'd like, BetterHelp.com/FNL.
But he says, he looks at him, he looks at Herc in that moment. And he says, I needed this. I needed to make this team. And Herc looks at him and says, we all did.
Yeah.
This is a championship. This isn't therapy. And I'm going to apply that line to every time I go to an audition and go, man, I really needed this. But then understand that every other actor there also really needed it. And guess what? These are the championships. It's not therapy. You don't book a role.
But
you
I
don't make a
needed it
team.
more.
Yeah, well, I always need it more than the next day. But I will say there's
Me
one
too.
guy who's my kryptonite. I don't know if we've ever mentioned this, but every time I've tested against him, boring. It's like
is
you're
it?
one
Who
of
is
the
it? Who
top
is it?
2 or 3
Who
people
is it? Who
that
is it?
they
Who
want.
is it?
I'll get to it. But I've tested against him. I can't, like 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And every time he's gotten it to the point where the last 2 times I walk in, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go home.
Yeah, spin on the heel.
I don't even know why I'm here. And he's such a nice. We've actually become friends through like sitting in that awkward situation, chatting each other up. He's such a nice guy, a wonderful actor. Michael Stahl David, he's my kryptonite. If I see him at an audition,
You're out.
I'm out. However, I will say the first time it ever happened was for a show called The Black Donnellys.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was
with
the same
Tucker. My
year
friend
as
Tucker was
Friday
on
Night
that.
Lights.
Yeah, so with Tucker, and I went in chemistry read with Tucker, and
I just
Anyway.
talked about Tucker today. I love him.
I didn't get the part. He did. And that show, which was really good, it only went 8 episodes on NBC and
got
then went
canceled.
away. It was the same season as Friday Night Lights. So if I gotten that, I wouldn't have gotten Friday Night Lights. Football boy probably would have figured out a way to get it.
Yeah.
And then
Of
I wouldn't be
course.
here making this podcast. So thank you, Michael Stahl.
That's
David.
it.
Isn't that amazing?
Hey, Zach.
Yes, Scott.
I love this time of year.
Oh, tell me why.
Well, I mean, the weather's getting warmer.
It is.
I get to see my friends and family a lot more often.
Yes, you do.
Whether we're meeting up for birthday parties. I mean, geez, you've got kids, I've got kids. Weekends are full of birthday
Yeah,
parties.
but you can't show up empty-handed.
No, you can't.
So what do you show up with?
Wine, I guess, to a kid's birthday
You
party.
gotta show up with wine for those whiny little
And
kids.
That is why I love First Leaf. Listen, if you are weekend warriors like Zach and I, you got kids, you're going to 1,000 birthday parties, and you're friends with the parents there, you got to bring wine, man.
Yeah. You want to have something social. And what's more social than wine? And none of us really understand wine. We know nothing, but we like it. And what First Leaf does is they help us find wine that we like at a very affordable price.
Yes, First Leaf is America's most personalized wine company. First Leaf takes the guesswork out of wine selection, especially for somebody like me who's like super ignorant about wines.
Oh, super ignorant. That's how I always describe Scott. Not just about wine, but he brings wine to my house sometime. I'm like, a Merlot? Have you ever seen Sidewise? I'm not drinking a Merlot. But with First Leaf, you have 100% satisfaction guarantee. You fill out a survey. You say, I like grapes. I don't like grapes. I like strawberries. I like dirt. I like charcoal. Whatever you like, they'll put it in your wine. They'll make sure that taste is there, and you're going to be pumped.
Yeah, and also you're going to get wine at low, low prices because First Leaf cuts out the middleman and they work directly with some of the world's foremost wine producers. You get these quality wines with all of the things Zach just said they might have in them
Charcoal.
for a much lower price than you would pay at any store. Plus, if you have any questions about your wines, like what to pair them with, hot dogs, what pairs well with hot dogs at a child's birthday party.
Oh, my God.
First Leaf certified wine concierge team, they might not answer that question, but they will answer any other
No,
question
they will tell
have.
you. Google can't tell you what wine goes well with a hot dog, but First Leaf can.
Listen, I love sharing great wine with my friends and family, and I know you all out there will too. So give First Leaf a try. Head over to tryfirstleaf.com/FridayFootball to sign up and save 50% 15% on your first 6 bottles plus free shipping.
That is tryfirstleaf, TRYFIRSTLEAF.com/Friday Football to save 50%. That equals half on your first 6 bottles. That's half a dozen plus free shipping. That's $0 on shipping. Tryfirstleaf.com/Friday Football.
It's Not Only Football. Friday Night Lights and Beyond is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep. While you're listening to us talk, you're probably also driving or cleaning or exercising, maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you could be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy, and you can save money by doing it right now from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $700 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and a lot more. So, just like your favorite podcast, hopefully us, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you are protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 29 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $698 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations. So Susie has a refrigerator, quote unquote. I've got this fridge I have to take to
What a
Heard that one
random
before.
chore. To just like, I've been meaning to take this fridge to Austin. Why don't you jump in the truck with me? I'll drive you down
Hey,
there.
it worked,
you want to
didn't
give
it?
me a ride?
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you a ride home. I got to drop this thing off at
We're gonna
Barton.
cruise right down Cheat Street.
Oh my God.
You're going to want to take a left down Cheat Street.
No, one
we'll
thing
go
I-
then take a right down Liar's Lane. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna get there. It's gonna happen. She's like, but Jason opens up to her in a way that he has not spoken to anyone outside of maybe Coach Taylor, who now he's suing. So he
Is
doesn't
that
have.
still happening? We haven't heard about that in a while.
We talk about it in
We
this episode.
haven't.
Did you watch this
Litigation
episode?
takes forever,
You
Zach.
see my notes?
I say to Susie when we're in the truck on the way home, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to go back to Dylan, where 50% of the people hate me because I'm suing the coach.
Yeah.
And she's like, why do you want to stay somewhere where you're not wanted? And he's like, because I'm engaged. And she's like, I don't understand that. And in the script, it's like, why don't you just take her with you? Leave, take her with you. I'm like, what? Yeah, just throw her in the back of the truck and like start a
She
new
still
life
needs to
somewhere else.
graduate high school. Just because I dropped out doesn't mean I should make her drop. What the f*** are we going to do? Just be 2 high school dropouts on the run?
And then apparently
Happens all the time.
she loves it so much.
How well does it go? How well does it go?
I am a high school dropout, so f you.
Yeah, how well has that gone?
I'm not so much. You're right.
She's
When
sitting
you put
here
it
with
that
us.
way,
You
it
were
doesn't
just
look
telling
so
me how
good.
you need a job.
She's
Oh, the
sitting here
man's
with
right.
us.
The man's
you
right.
know.
The man's right.
But I guess Susie enjoys the conversation so much. She's like, have you ever been to Stonehenge too? Have you ever been to the most
Stonehenge
random?
too.
Have you ever been to the most random thing we could throw into Friday Night Lights?
That was real, right? Like that's a
Oh,
real
yeah.
thing?
No. So-
Like, that
so-
wasn't they didn't that wasn't the carnival that we just put up in the
in
middle of a field.
1990.
We didn't have the budget for Stonehenge too.
Let me take you back to a time in 1990 when 2 next door neighbors, Al Shepard and Doug Hill, were
Here we
building a back deck, and Doug gifted a giant slab of limestone to his friend Al. And Al stood out there on the limestone and was like, "Oh, I don't need this for the deck. What am I going to do for it? Oh yeah, I'm going to build a 90% 2-size replica of Stonehenge out of this limestone and a bunch of foam and wire and call it Stonehenge 2. It's a
Smart.
real thing. It's real.
It's amazing.
And filming this thing was awesome. I don't know. You don't know this because you weren't a part of this, but we had like a B unit sometimes that I would shoot. I was like the only member of B unit as far as acting went.
B unit.
B unit.
Now, for those listening,
it,
A
too.
unit is the main unit. It's the important one that has the actual director of the episode and has the actual all the money goes to A unit, right? And then they're like, "Oh, we need to shoot this little scene off to the side."
This is a splinter unit.
Yeah, and that was me.
B unit's fun though
I
because
was
you can
always B unit.
you can goof off and there's like no grown-ups around and you're
Yeah.
like whatever. Shit, you know.
So we drive out to Kerrville, Texas, in the middle of nowhere. Kerrville had a beach bar, and you would think that we were on like an overnight field trip. It was like a skeleton crew. It was like a quarter of our normal crew. We got onto, no shit, a school bus and drove to Kerrville. There was coolers in the back. People are drinking beers. We're on the way out there. We had
great.
a travel day. So we just went for it on the travel day. We ended up at a place called the Kerrville Beach Bar. Guess what? Middle of Texas. There's no beach. But this bar was full of fucking sand. There was a sand patio. There was no shoes allowed. People were walking around with no shoes on, drinking. For the first time ever, I did something called a yeg stand.
Whoa.
Next morning was very tough. Actually,
And then you had to
Never.
go shoot the scene.
no, we had to wake up at the ass crack of dawn to go to Stonehenge too.
To shoot the scenes.
One of our crew members had lost a bet at that beach bar the night before and had to work the entire day in a red Speedo. I'm not kidding.
Before HR.
Long story short, you can see in my notes, and I know the two of you aren't going to believe this, but I was furious with Jason.
Really?
Kadams?
Furious with Jason Street.
Oh, Street. Yeah, no, of course you are.
You know, the writers over time on this show had cut out a bunch of scenes that I've talked about where at the
That's
tattoo parlor, Jason blurts out, I have a fiance, I'm engaged, like before he gets his tattoo. And a number of times in the script where he's like, hey, this isn't like, this isn't cool. Like basically having these conversations. And they put a lot of it on Susie's side. He opens up to her and then I was so mad. When they kissed, I was just watching. I was like,
Oh, but every 18-year-old boy is going to do that.
I was going to say he's 17 and he just went through this thing. And again, like,
and she's
I
older.
loved
She's
it
got
when Lila
glasses
said it,
on.
but
She's got glasses. Her vision's going.
when she took the glasses off, like, what are you going to do? She took her glasses off. You got
She was on Friends.
No, you can't
come
stop
on.
it. You can't stop it now.
She was married to Chandler or
No,
someone.
she wasn't married to Chandler. This is the funny thing is like she's an older person.
She was Bruce Willis's daughter.
Making out with a high school student here, whereas in Friends, Ross was a professor and
Yeah,
she
Ross.
was a student of his.
Full circle.
Full circle.
The professor passes on the glasses to the student.
But the thing I wasn't furious about, and the reason I understood it in a way, is that he did open up and say things very honestly to her that he cannot or feels he cannot speak of to anybody in his life. He's headstrong, he's stubborn to a fault, and he doesn't want to admit that this engagement with him and Lila is a bad idea and has been since day one. Zach, you've been saying it. Bad idea.
Bad idea.
And he's realizing it now through all these conversations. I mean, this is part of Street and Lila's journey.
But, then when you go down Cheat Street,
I mean, he
there's
comes
no
home,
going back.
He comes home and Minka in the scene where
It's a one-way
she
street.
comes to Jason Cheat Street's house. She shows up.
I knew it would catch on.
Minka in that scene is incredible. I say so quickly, look, nothing happened. And she's like, happened?
Yep.
What could happen?
She's like, I wasn't even going to go there, but you took it there. So clearly you took that turn.
She's so good in that scene. She's so good. But then heartbreakingly, she says, look, let's be honest with each other here, which they haven't been.
Stomach.
Like, they have been honest. Like, they love each other, but they're not ready.
Oh, you're in high school.
Sometimes love isn't enough. You know what I'm saying?
Anyway,
Not when you're 18,
do you believe
17,
in this?
I know,
16. Who
that's
knows
what
how
I'm
old these people are?
The moment where you realize that something isn't going to happen or that something has occurred that you can't take back or something has changed that will never go back to being the same. Like, those are just like gut wrenching. It's like your whole world falls out from beneath you. And I felt really sad watching that. I was like, oh Lord, being a teenager is the worst.
I felt sad for both of them. I really did.
Being
And
a 30-year-old teenager is really hard.
Mad at Street, of course, for letting it get that far, but mad at him for more
it's
than
okay
just
to
a
make
kiss.
Mistakes.
Mad at him for more than just a kiss. Mad at him
yeah,
for not being able to be truthful about.
You didn't have the tools. This is how we learn.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like I will say I relate to that issue sometimes with like writing stuff. It can be so frustrating because it's like, you work to create this kind of like, through line of what makes sense for your character's behavior so that even, regardless of if it's right or wrong or if it's morally this or that, it makes sense. And it can feel really frustrating when you are like, I've, crafted this through line of reasons or whatever. And then things get cut or things move around and you're like, oh no, it's like interrupted.
And it's even worse on a show like Friday Night Lights because we're getting scripts so late. So I don't know what's coming up. So I literally didn't know he didn't make the team in this episode until like a day before when we got the script, like a day before we started shooting. And I definitely didn't know that the thing with Susie was happening until like the day before we started shooting. And at that point,
you would have been protesting.
You can't reverse anything. We shot so fast and we moved so quickly and you couldn't stop it. But that is like the worst of Jason. But the best of Jason, like, comes up very quickly in the scene with all four of all four of the guys as they're going to the football field, where a couple of the other guys don't look so great. But what drives us there is really everybody else's problems. There's a portion of that scene at the beginning of when Saracen and Smash and Street and Riggins are on the football field where they're all like, our woe is me. This is what's wrong with my life right now. So what I want to do is I want to wait till the end of the episode and come back to this and talk about everybody else's shit. Like Saracen shit. It's so strange. Saracen is like all of a sudden like the most like nervous kid in the world. Like, I can't lead this team anymore.
I know. I don't know, man.
But he's always been all wiggly.
He's never been. He's never been too flamboyant.
Too flamboyant.
The word.
You wouldn't. That's not the right word.
I mean,
You're squirrely.
The only thing good about this whole thing of him being like, oh, I can't even see over Brant's line. I can't lead this team anymore. I'm going to be a loser. The only good thing about that,
what the f- is Brant's line?
It's the defensive line.
Well,
for the Brant
I can tell you.
team.
This is exactly what happened. He's had a couple beers, which we have not seen him do.
No, but he didn't. The first time you'd bring it up, it's at the Alamo Freeze. And then Landry tells you that
I was drinking at the Alamo Freeze.
Oh, you were? Jeez. Oh,
yeah,
my God.
I was spiking my swirlies.
Oh, no. You're
Swizzles.
really Saracen's losing it. I was going to say, the only good thing about you losing hope is the scene with you and Landry and Julie at Alamo Freeze where he says, you could never do anything wrong in Coach's eyes. You're like his Seabiscuit.
Yeah, I know.
I love that. That was the best line in the whole episode.
I love it. So that's what's going on with Saracen.
Yeah, Saracen's a little... the lights have gotten brighter.
Yeah.
And
he's a people pleaser.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to let the town down.
Smash is unfortunately dealing with like
real stuff.
Poorly,
Yeah.
sorry. Unfortunately, very poorly dealing with the fallout of Waverly's admission to him that she is in fact bipolar. And he has no idea how to be there for him. And it's so infuriating.
No tools.
It's so tough to watch because he very quickly makes it about me. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Everything's okay. I'm just processing this. It's just a lot to process for me, not the person who's dealing with the mental illness. Like, it's like tough for him to deal with. And she calls him out. She's like, look at you. You are so frightened. You are look at the fear on your face right now. She's like, in the script under review, they cut out a scene where she breaks up with him.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Yeah, she breaks up with him and he goes back to her and is like, no, I want to be here for you. But they cut it. I was like, what the heck? The under reviews in this episode are really,
well,
really
then he's
tough.
talking shit in the car. He's like, it means she's crazy. Like, he's it's just, he has no tools, no desire to, learn, or he just doesn't know how to handle it.
Tim Riggins. May?
Oh,
did you like Tim Riggins' storyline this episode?
You guys, I love my Riggy. Okay, I'm gonna say something controversial. I ship this whole thing. I want to be mad because it's glasses and it's like whatever, but I can't. I like it. I obviously I'm going back and watching these one by one, so it's like really fun to have the discoveries. But as it is right now, I don't know. I like seeing this sensitive side of Tim. I obviously, he's a kid and it's not right.
But he doesn't look like a kid. I mean, he looks like a grown-ass man.
He looks like a grown-ass man.
He's working on trucks. He's teaching kids to fight. He's picking them up at school.
Gutters. Give me a break. Yeah, and I love that.
Might as well be the pool boy.
Yeah. But he's like a pool boy that's good with kids, I think there is, I said it last episode, but I think there's really to me, it's the special thing to watch is when somebody is good with kids, because I love kids. I'm that to me is so appealing.
Okay. But can we ask the question, is he really good with kids? I mean, in the middle of the whole thing, you're right. Jackie shows up at the house. She's pissed. She's like, did you fix my gutters? I didn't pay you to fix those gutters. Don't come fix my gutters. I don't want to be indebted to any dude
Don't do
like
me any
you.
favors,
Don't do me any favors. But you know what? I'm going to ask you for a favor. I need you to watch my kid because I'm a single mom and they gave me an extra shift today, which they shouldn't have done, and I can't pick my kid up from school.
Pick him up, right.
So Riggins is 3 hours late to pick him up.
Yeah.
He's getting bullied. And then he tells a kid, if you touch him again, I'm going to punch a hole through your chest and rip out your heart.
Yeah.
Do we understand?
I love that part.
And then he teaches him
You've
how to fight.
never said that to another kid?
He teaches him how to fight. Yeah. And then Jackie comes home from work and she's like,
I don't see the problem yet.
Why was he getting bullied?
Me either.
Oh, because you were 3 hours late. And why are you teaching him how to fight? Oh, why would you do that? I'm a pacifist, she says.
I know.
Which is hilarious.
But then he says that you've got to teach a kid how to fight or the bully will just keep coming after him.
And she's like, oh, how do you know? Were you bullied? And he was like, no, I was the bully. And I was like, damn.
And he's
full circled.
Full circle
Now he's
back.
And I was
Crazy
like,
gutters.
damn, man.
Am I? the question is he good with kids?
Yeah, he's good with kids.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
I like that he's like teaching. Obviously, we don't support violence, and obviously mental, and obviously, taking away the power of the bully, letting it dissipate. Obviously, okay. But
but we don't. But what about the difference between violence and like sticking up for yourself?
Totally. I mean, I do think there's ways around it being the violence of it all, but I will say I like all that, put to the side of like artistic license. It's a TV show, et cetera, et cetera. If we can just, I love the moment of, cause the mom is like, you were late. Like he has trust issues. And then when he's like, I'm sorry, I was late. And the kid's like, are you kidding? That rocked or whatever. Like, I just thought I like that, what it contributed to the storyline. Obviously it's wrong, et cetera, but I like that it kind of gives this kid, he feels like he has a friend and he feels like he has someone who cares about him enough to kind of stick up for him. And if somebody was my kid, I'd be down there slapping him around too. I'd be in jail.
Yeah, my mom told me act crazy. Like make your face red, scream at them, like get in their face, like start making yourself bigger than you, and usually they'll back off is what she told me.
That's what you do if you were like in a scary situation, walking down a scary street. Yeah.
That's what my mom told me
you did that on the playground
Mine
as well.
too.
Yeah, you gotta learn how to deal. And you know what? Jackie sees through that rough exterior and she sees that golden heart that all the viewers just love to death. And she invites him over for dinner as a thank you and to watch him Back to the Future, which the kid loves. I know I love this kid. Back to the Future. Bo. Oh, so good. Bo's
I love
Back to the Future.
Yeah, but he falls asleep.
He does, but not before he gives him a cute little school picture of himself.
Oh, right.
My kids have started taking school pictures, and they're the damn cutest things ever. And the show went to no shortage of lengths. Like last episode's Jason Street and Lila's prom picture, or Bo's school picture here. They're great. They're great. Our art department was awesome.
Better than some I've been on.
Better than most I've
We're
been
looking
on.
at you, good girls. I love the department.
Wow.
The pictures didn't
I love them
great.
as people. They're talents. Anyway, so one thing leads to another, and let's get in a pro.
Yeah, so at the end of that night, Tim misreads everything and tries to make out with the mom of the kid. He's been, does he?
Well, she's serving.
Is she?
She sees, yes, because she sees him carrying her kid to bed, and she's like, the tender moment, the ovaries, she can't believe it. It's sweet, it's tender, it's vulnerable. I think that she lost herself in a moment of like, and then when he kind of goes for the kiss, it's like, she snaps out of it, and she's like, we absolutely cannot do this. No,
You're a child.
No. Yeah.
She like
You're a
slaps
huge
him.
child.
Go home.
A huge, handsome child.
So those are all the issues going on when we get to the field.
Yeah. But let's just wrap up the Tim storyline, because she says no, but then she sits outside his house and says, Bo's at piano practice right now. And then she says yes.
Well, he says, I'm sorry. And she's like, quiet. And then he gets up to leave, and she takes his hand and she kisses.
My notes
and
say,
she says,
can
never know.
Yeah, my notes say, Big Rig comes home to a waiting Brooke. That's the actress. She wants the big rig. Bo can never know.
No. No.
Anyway.
No.
I get it.
Okay, everybody out there in listening land, we're going to give you a second.
Oh, my God. You guys, we have so much more to get through.
Okay. Yeah, then we get to the field, and we've got the guys. And they're all talking about their problems. Crazy Waverly. I tried to kiss my next door neighbor, who I'm pretty sure is in her mid-30s. That didn't go so well. You're freaking out about no longer being able to lead the team.
Yeah, I know. Unfounded. There's no reason I should be nervous.
Riggins says his problems are the biggest, and I say no. Chair wins. Chair always wins. And then I look at you and I say, what are you worried about? What do you think they're going to do? Bench you? Start me? Thank you, Jason Kadams. I love that line.
That's a good one.
That is a good line.
And then you have a bonding moment.
Yeah, we have a bonding moment. You teach me how to quarterback. We come up with some plays we're going to use, and then me and
really
Smash
cute.
fall asleep cuddling for warmth.
And
you guys get to
cold out
reunite
there.
the Texas Forever moment, which actually I think is very earned.
I think
It's
is
great.
too, and I think it's more important here than it ever was in the
agree
pilot.
as friends.
I think it's more important here than it ever was, in the pilot.
You
Go ahead.
say we're friends. You literally, you guys agree that you guys are friends.
I think Street is realizing in this moment, like he's been trying to run away from his old life, but I think this re-embracing of his old life puts him into a way better headspace than he has been in.
Yeah.
Reestablishing a friendship that he thought was dead and gone, and really sharing something he knows so much about. Quad rugby, he doesn't, but football, he knows everything about. Mm-hmm. And it's evident in it's my favorite scene I ever did on the show, and it's for a number of reasons, not the least of which is when he is coaching Saracen. Our director of photography chose to shoot Street from the ground up, and it looks like he's standing again, which I always took to mean Jason feels like he is 10 feet tall in that scene for the first time in forever. And when he's teaching you how to run that deep out, when he says to you, hit the slants and the hitches, they'll respect you, but hit this deep out and they will fear you. It's just so well written and so well shot. Yeah. And it's one of those things where, as an actor, I didn't do much in that scene. Everybody around me was doing so much, and I feel like this scene is so impactful because of the words that were actually written. And we talk about getting off the page a lot, but I didn't get off the page in that one. Stay on your toes was like the football rhetoric was me, but the meat of it was all the words on the page. And Dave Boyd shooting it the way he did, just, I don't know. I cried like a baby watching that. Just for that moment for Street. Anyway, favorite scene I've ever shot for the show.
It was a good one. It was fun because it was the first time since, there was the mythical scene we didn't shoot in the last episode or whatever where I come to your garage party.
Yeah.
But it was fun to actually get to work with you.
I know. We never got to do that prior to this. Now you're going to be saddled with me for quite some time.
Yeah. No, but it's good times.
Last on that scene, we stayed up all night and shot. That was the actual sunrise.
Yeah.
That wasn't, we didn't shoot that on a different day. Like, we shot that all night long, and then that morning we did wait for the sunrise, and it was really cool. Wow, I just got really emotional. It was just really cool to be there with you and Taylor and Gaius, who I had been away from for so long, to sit there and watch the sunrise together. It just meant so much to me as a human being.
No, it was one of those magical moments, and the metaphor of the show where team yada yada, but it really was there was a huge camaraderie on the show between people, and especially you've talked about it a lot throughout this podcast about how you felt so isolated and you weren't around people, and it kind of was yay, we get Scott back. Now we get to actually we're hanging out outside of work, but it's just different. There's all these inside jokes and whatever that develop on a set, and that's where it's a very specific relationship that gets developed. And so it was cool to be cool, we get back to that thing we found on the pilot.
Yeah.
When we were all on set together, and now we've kind of been dispersed.
And also when the end music, the end credit music comes kicking in before the end credits, that's the real shit. You're oh, they are not playing. This is
this is real. This is the real shit. Something else that's real that we can go through pretty quickly is Buddy's need, and this is really the Lila of it all in this episode, is that both of her parents think that she's taking another parent's side. But you find out the real about Buddy Garrity and how this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened numerous times. And Pam, regardless of Buddy Garrity's Dr. Phil advice to make a family photo album.
I cannot.
Oh, my God.
It lines up.
I don't think Lila gets enough credit for everything that she goes through in this show. And how
it's really unfair.
And how she rebounds from everything. But this episode, they're not pooping on Saracen right now. No. They are pooping on Lila, and they have been for the last couple of episodes. And I'm interested to see, just as a viewer, where she goes from here, what she does. We've seen her go through tough times and rebound big time, fight through adversity. It's different for girls. We see her fighting spirit, and I'm interested to see where she goes from here.
She expresses herself. We could say that much at the end.
She does. Yeah. She decides that she's had enough of her father. She goes full on destruction derby.
Oh, yeah.
At the Buddy Garrity car dealership, which he deserves.
Totally. I was surprised she wasn't injured.
Yeah,
me too. That was scary.
None of the airbags were exploding. I mean, there's a lot of things. I'm like, what kind of cars are Buddy selling right now?
We've done the baseball bat on a car thing
know,
3
you're
times
right.
on the show.
Yeah, you're right. You're
And
right.
Lila's like,
What about
"Fuck it, I don't need a
eggs
baseball
or-
bat. I'm going to just drive this car and I'm going to take this PT Cruiser.
Gonna use
And I'm gonna
don't
you know
bring
what?
my
Hey, Dad, thanks for the PT Cruiser.
Don't
Here's what I
bring-
think of it.
don't disparage
That's what
a
I
PT
think of them,
Cruiser
too.
in this. Don't do that. That's not that PT Cruiser's fault.
As long as they protected the Hyundais, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't touch the Hyundais.
The last storyline and the
don't
one
mess
that I
with the
think
Hyundais.
is most important outside of well, actually, I think it's more important. I think for me, the football field is the most important thing because that's me just being whatever. But the biggest storyline involves both the Collettes and the Taylors. Julie standing up saying, "I'm not leaving." Her dad misunderstanding her and being like, "Well, Austin's an arty town, and you're an arty kid, and there's dance. There's so much dance there. There's lots of dance. Help me out, Tammy. Oh, they have a wonderful ballet, right? They've got so many good balleters there. I mean, Coach and Julie are at each other's throats for this whole episode of him being like,
The weird dance.
Well, yes, up before that point of the dance, like she's not going, and he's like, I don't care,
Exactly.
you are going. He hasn't even taken the job yet, but it's just these two really stubborn people. Meanwhile, Tyra and like Tammy's trying to get Tyra into college and all this stuff, and her parent is not happy about how that's going down. She feels like the Taylors are trying to act like they're better than them than the Collettes. And
I know, but we come to find, I mean, that's what's so hard. It's, it's just feeling like I can't do this for my child. And you're putting these dreams in her head where I'm going to have to like be a failure again
yeah,
to my daughter. And like, can you please, like, it's hard enough. Like,
yeah.
I'm doing my best, which hasn't really been good enough yet. But now you're just giving me another hurdle to overcome, which I'm not going to be able to. And that's really scary. And like, I really am tired of breaking my daughter's heart.
Yeah. I mean, Angela shows up at the Taylor household where Tyra is tutoring, and they're going to have like a nice family dinner, and Angela walks in and she's
Chili
just
night,
like,
yeah?
and she just grabs her daughter and she's like, we're leaving. We're not going to stay for chili. And that's what she says to Tyra in the car. Like, Tyra's like, why are you so mad? She's like, because they're filling your head with dreams that you're not capable of. School costs money. You're not going to school. You can't afford that. You think they're nice people, but they're telling you that you can do things you can't do. And that, in my opinion, is not very nice. But as weird as the daddy-daughter dance is...
That's going to be my overtime.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get there.
Good.
There are two conversations in cars between adults and their children that actually matter in a positive way. Coach Taylor, who all episode long has been basically saying, Julie, you're going to Austin and there's nothing you can do about it, says, I was wrong. I want to let you know that you're 15 and you're almost an adult and basically are, and your opinion matters and you are a part of this family and you matter. And I hear you, but you're also 15. You can't decide where we live. But if you want to share, please share. And she does. And he says, I hear you. And as stubborn as the two of them are, it's like such a beautiful moment before, know, the dance or whatever. And, they've gone at each other. She didn't want to go to this dance. It's not about the dance. It's about her being upset. And he hasn't wanted to hear it. And then Angela and Tyra.
But wait, I have to say this.
What's up?
No. It's just because I wrote that scene was so fucking cheesy, and I loved it.
What?
The dialogue was so cheesy.
Oh, I
it
disagree.
was so bad. I was all in.
Maybe the tiebreaker was that scene cheesy or was it touching?
The actual words were so TV cheese.
Oh no!
And the performances were great. And I was in on the story, and I went along with it. I was like, I literally wrote cheesy scene, but all caps. I love it! Exclamation! Exclamation! Exclamation!
Okay.
I was touched as the
touched.
tiebreaker. We're gonna go with touch over cheese.
But that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. It's a touching scene, but it's the words, the dialogue was so
it was cheesy.
You know why it was cheesy? You know why it was cheesy? Because it went against everything that was not everything. A lot of what was good about our show. They made a 15-year-old say words that a 15-year-old would never say.
That's
they
not
were
true.
Julie read Moby Dick, bro.
That's not true.
So did I. I had a flag on play it. I got to call a spade when
Tell
I see
us
it.
in the comments
I
if you
can't
think
sit
that scene
around
was
and just
cheesy.
be like,
I don't think it was. She says, my whole life you have moved me around, and I thought for sure, when we were coming to Dylan, that it was going to be awful. And I have dreams, and I want to achieve them. But those dreams started coming true here. Oh, my God, is it cheesy? In the Angela Tyra scene, she has just told her daughter that she's not capable of a great number of things. And then Tyra, and they cut something that is very cheesy in the Tyra scene where she says, Mom, you're my hero. I just want to achieve more than you did. It's basically like...
I like that.
They cut it, but it's basically Tyra saying, I want to try. I know you don't think I can, but I want to try, but I can't do
unlike
it without you.
I want to make an effort.
I can't do it without you. And then her mom, in not a lot of words, just whips that car around and drives to the daddy-daughter dance
cool.
and then storms in there and says, look, I don't care. Like, fathers can dance with their daughters, but I can't dance with my daughter here. What, just because there's no father in the picture? Screw that. I'm here. We're going to dance. I love you, and I will support you. And you see a different Angela in that scene. And I loved it. I loved it.
I love that.
They cut a line where Tyra says, what is this, some Thelma and Louise thing? Are you about to drive us off a cliff on the way to the
I love
daddy
that.
dance?
That's great, too.
I wish that would have stuck. Okay.
Editors got aggressive.
That's everything that we can get to. Oh, my God, there's so much in this episode. But we do have overtime, thankfully. I have a couple of overtime points. May, do you have overtime?
My overtime was just, again, the fact that I loved seeing Tim talk to the child. It was going to be the thing about ripping the kid's heart out. I was like, oh my God. One time my dad a kid pulled a chair out from underneath me when I was in school in front of the whole cafeteria while I was sitting down, and I fell and hurt myself, and everybody laughed. And my dad went to the school and got in somehow and basically threatened this fourth grader's life. And I thought that was really chic. And he's like, again, he's a pacifist. He knows the difference. Sometimes you got to slap a little 4-year-old around verbally.
Yeah, verbally,
just
not
verbally.
with your hands. Very important. Very
no,
important.
never with your hand, just verbally.
What's your overtime, Zach?
My overtime is, I think this whole daddy-daughter dance thing is really weird and creepy. I didn't like it. I think it's weird. Have a parent,
it is a little weird.
Kid dance. Let's all go to a dance, but it's just there's no mommy son dance, and I know it's weird.
Also, why a dance? Can't it just be daddy daughter dinner? We're sitting, we're chatting at a table. Come on,
we're all getting all dressed up like it's prom and
I know, and it's you look beautiful.
It's all intention though. Maybe it's not so creepy if you're hey, dude,
the
fathers and daughters.
I always say this: intent in one hand, shit in the other, and tell me which fills up first.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, good intentions pave the road to hell.
Yeah,
just so you know.
True story. I was just going to say, maybe the idea of back in the day when fathers and daughters never connected at all, forcing them to actually talk to each other, might be a good thing.
Dinner.
Actual open lines of communication. Hopefully, it's in a different way.
Let's start with
don't
coffee.
Make them dress up. I have 2 overtime points. Here we go. Very quickly, 2 overtime points. Street trying to buy beer from the guy at the gas station.
Love it.
Yeah, that was cool.
Where he says, look, man, if I was still on the team, you would sell me this. And he's like, I'm sorry, Jason, can't do it. And then Riggins buys him beer. He clearly knows that Jason's on the football team. He clearly knows that Riggins is on the football team. But then without even cracking a smile, he says, thank you, Sergeant Riggins. Yeah. And then he's like, have a great night, just because he had the fake ID. The guy that plays that gas station attendant is named Joey Oglesby. Joey Oglesby comes back in season 2 as a different character. Guy Raston, the ferret meth dealer that Kitch ends up living with. Yeah, so little bit of overtime
just
there.
Just goes to show you what can happen from attendant to meth dealer.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then the other overtime point that I had was Julie has to sit there and watch her parents dancing before she goes to the father-daughter dance, which is more weird to me.
I said in my notes, Coach and Tammy try to get Julie to join a 3-way.
One time, ouch, no.
Yeah,
Please.
daddy-daughter dance.
Stop
Weird.
saying ouch.
So I went to a wedding with my folks back in the day, and I was 14, and my folks are like, hey, we're going to leave the reception now. Do you want to stay and hang out with your friends? And I was like, sure. So I stayed and I hung out at the wedding with my friends who were at the wedding. And then I got home and I walked in the front door and I heard Joe Cocker playing in my bedroom? And I was like, why is
Not
Joe Cocker
no.
playing in my bedroom? And I walk through the house and I open the door to my bedroom, to which I see my parents dancing.
Oh.
My mom's in a cowboy hat. They're listening to Joe Cocker. Look, to each
Could have been worse.
Yeah, it could have been
I'm so happy.
way
My
worse.
parents have been so happily married for so long, and I love it to death.
You
but
never
I
know
didn't
what's
want to
gonna go
walk
down
in.
with the
I didn't
Cocker.
want to walk in on my parents in the
No.
skivvies and a cowboy hat, dancing to Joe Cocker in my room. And the only reason they were in my room is because my 5 CD changer was the only CD player working in the house. If you've had a similar experience, please share it in the comments. We have one question from the press box. Zach, this one primarily is for you. Shenanigans 330 said, did wardrobe choose Matt's hiking boots and Livestrong bracelet attire? What is the backstory? Did you have any control? And why is he always in some shade of blue or gray? That's like 3 questions in one, but...
Okay, I can knock these out pretty quick.
Boom.
Livestrong and boots were all me. Those boots I actually had... they were my hiking boots that I had just worn like through Alaska for the summer, or that summer was New Zealand, but they were my actual hiking boots. And I said, I'm not a cowboy boot dude, but I'm not, like, it just feels like he'd be a boot guy. He's kind of blue collar. Why don't, and they were like, well, what about these? And everything was so trite and so like clearly like off the rack. And I said, I have these worn in boots. And they said, these are great. You can wear those. And the best part was they bought me a brand new pair for myself.
Well, yeah, because production uses your wardrobe. They have to pay you for it.
Well, so they gave me a new one to take home, and they took my old boots. So that was great. The
That's
Livestrong,
the best.
I don't know why I wore it. I just decided to wear it.
I just thought that
Yeah.
Saracen should
And then
have...
the blue and gray, I mean, wardrobe designers, I love them, but they get into these things called like a palette. And they're like, I think this character wears these
Well,
colors.
blue is a hero palette.
Well, it goes with my eyes, too. I'm very often
Also,
in
it's
blue.
like team colors. You guys are
Yeah. Blue
reading
and gray.
too much
Oh,
into
yeah.
this. You're like, it's because I'm a hero. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's a
because
Panther
your
shirt. It's
stupid
gray
team
with blue-
colors. You-
Well, I'm
So
glad,
that's the answer.
I'm glad that you had the wherewithal to be like, I want to make some decisions about what Saracen wears. Obviously, I didn't, as like evidenced by like black
Oh, no,
denim
but this
jacket,
was the
like
thing.
moody,
For the
like
first-
street happening.
The
like,
first half of the first season, they would put me in so many different. There's so many. I don't want to go on and ramble on forever, but they would give me like, I was like, I want one pair of jeans all the time. This kid's poor, and they would always give me a new pair of pants, a new pair of jeans. I was like, one pair. It's not that hard. And I would go back to the trailer and be like, this pair, and then they would give me like so many button-down short sleeve polo shirts, and I was like, these are so lame. Just give me like a couple T-shirts that say Panthers football. And it wasn't until our costume designer left the show partway through season 1, and the second in command, whoever took over, was like, yeah, I get it. No more of those polos. So you see, like, the polos go away, or they're very rare.
That's awesome. I didn't make any decisions outside of the fact that wardrobe tried to always put me in Panthers gear, and I was like,
Yeah, no.
he doesn't want to wear.
I basically decided everything that Amber wore on Parenthood. It was awesome. They were so dedicated to having us like actually genuinely be like realistically us that they were like, you choose it. Go figure out whatever you want. Go shop and tell us what you want and we'll get it for you. Like, it was pretty dope.
Fuck, man. I'm so jealous
I
of
know.
both of
Yeah,
you.
Sorry,
you gotta
man.
just
Anyway,
vocalize it.
I think that was a very interesting question. Thank you
That was
very
a
much
good
for
one.
that, Shenanigans. And Zach,
I actually had an answer.
You had an
something.
answer, so that's awesome. If you want to hear Zach
Setting
answer
precedent.
more questions next week, please tune in to another episode of It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights and Beyond. But before you do, make sure you go to the Apple Podcast rate and review section. Ask us any question that you might have. Leave us a comment. Let us know if there's anything that we missed and that you would like us to make up. I think we are probably going to do like a makeup episode where we cover scenes that we didn't cover, maybe after we finish season 1, like a little season 1 recap or what we missed in season 1 episode. So if you want to take part in that, go and leave us a comment. Let us know what scenes you would like us to cover. Make sure you subscribe, like, do all the things, as May would say, smash that button.
Smash.
Smash, smash, smash. We will see you all again next Thursday for another episode of our show. We hope we will see you there. And until we do, I'm Scott Porter.
I'm Zach Gilford.
And I'm Mae Whitman saying, stay off of Cheat Street, y'all.
Ah.